I love social, if you can't tell. I'm passionate about social media, but LinkedIn's just kind of been the place where I planted my flag, like personally, if this is where I want to grow, this is where I want to develop and spend my time. And so I had somebody reach out on LinkedIn that said, "Hey, do you do social media, or do you know anybody that does like social media stuff on the side?" I was like, "Well, I think I could do that. That sounds good."
I know we've talked a lot about LinkedIn, but how does it compare to like the other social media platforms? So you talked about being able to grow an Instagram and a TikTok following.
The amount of people you can reach is just like insane. You can have a TikTok go viral. I had a TikTok go viral about a year ago. Posted a video I thought was funny, and it got 3.6 million views. And I had
Hmm.
like 100 followers, right? So like
Right.
that's insane. Made the decision in 2022. I'm gonna write every day on LinkedIn, even if nobody comments, even if nobody shares. I'm just gonna show up every day. I think it was October of 2022. I had a post that really popped and really kind of introduced me to a lot of new people. And since then, I've had more and more growth and just met a lot more people. A lot.
How do you look beyond the numbers whenever you're thinking about your strategy or getting out there every day and doing it?
You have to have a bigger yes, like a why of what you're doing.
How has, kind of networking and actually just being open to any meetings kind of changed your perspective on business or your career?
I've never had a phone call with somebody I met off Instagram. Not to say
Yeah.
that people don't. I think people probably. I actually have a buddy that met his wife on Instagram. So, like, I know people do that.
All right, Jacob, man. Hey, I appreciate you joining the show today, and wanted to dive in because I know we talked a little bit a few minutes ago about you kind of still have the full time job and but been doing the stuff on the side. But I was intrigued because I've been following you for several months now, particularly on LinkedIn. That what kind of prompted you to do the whole building an audience thing? Like, what was the impetus behind that?
Yeah, I was working at Version, which is a Bible app that's been downloaded like 500 million times, and so it's a cool place to work, really innovative, owned by a church, and so was working there, and there was typical nonprofit salary. It was an incredible place to work, nothing but amazing things to say, but needed to have like kind of a side hustle. My wife wanted to stay at home with our first daughter, so needed to make some money on the side, needed to figure that out. And so I had somebody reach out on LinkedIn that said, "Hey, do you do social media, or do you know anybody that does like social media stuff on the side?" I was like, "Well, I think I could do that. That sounds good to me." And so I said, "Will you let me try it?" And that kind of got me introduced to the world of social media consulting. And then I thought, like, man, if I can get a client just based off of like my LinkedIn profile, what would happen if I built an audience on LinkedIn? Would that really help accelerate that? And really never did anything with it. Did a lot, kept doing the consulting stuff. And I had success growing, with the team, growing an Instagram account, a TikTok account, a YouTube account, but I'd really never built a LinkedIn personal brand. And I also was in a spot in my life where I hadn't written in a very long time. I used to
Mm.
write a lot and hadn't really developed that habit in quite a long time. And so made the decision in 2022, I'm gonna write every day on LinkedIn, even if nobody comments, even if nobody shares, I'm just gonna show up every day. And so give or take a few days, I did that pretty consistently for about 10 months and really nothing happened. Some traction here and there, but really nothing. And then one day in, I think it was October of 2022, I had a post that really popped and really kind of introduced me to a lot of new people, and have hence like since then I've had, more and more growth and just met a lot more people, a bigger audience. And it's not all about numbers, but
Right.
what I'm doing is like I'm really passionate about helping other people, especially social media managers, helping them develop their own, business doing social media on the side. And so it's always nice, obviously it's not about the numbers, but it's always nice when you're helping more people than less people. So it's been really exciting. LinkedIn's just an incredible place to grow.
It's been a hard balance for me when you because I agree, like it's hard to not think about the numbers behind whether it's following or how many views or interactions something gets. But how have you, and I guess when you think about that showing up every day, even though you weren't getting, a lot of feedback maybe, but how do you look beyond the numbers whenever you're thinking about your strategy or getting out there every day and doing it?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I mean, like you have to have a bigger yes, like a why of what you're doing. who you are determines what you do. And so I wanted to
Mm.
define myself as a writer. I wanted to say I am a writer. I am someone who writes. And so I'm going to write even if nobody shows up. I'm going to write even if nobody shares this. But then also the bigger yes of like, I want to build something. I want to build this, my side hustle, my freelance thing. I want to build that. And I know I'm going to have to go through this season. I don't know how long it'll be. Maybe it'll be 2 weeks. Maybe it'll be 2 years, but I'm going to have to go through this phase of it takes time to develop the skill. It takes time to build a community. And so I think just having like a reason why you're doing it that can sustain you even on the days where like, man, I do not want to create content today, but I know it's all part of the process of I've got to get my reps in to figure out who I am and what my audience wants.
Is that so? Is that figuring out who you are the reason why you wanted to dive into the writing? Because you said that wasn't something you were necessarily like great at, but you wanted to do it. Why writing?
I wrote a lot in college and, for wrote stories for marketing departments. And so really did that quite a bit, but I hadn't done it in forever. And I still think if you shook me awake in the middle of the night and asked me, what are you? I would probably say a writer. Like that's how I
Mm.
want to define myself, even though I've done video, I've done social media, like everything is writing, everything is telling a story, and everything is pitching ideas. And I think that's like for social media managers, really for anybody that anybody that works in digital, copywriting is like one of the best investments you can make in yourself. And you can pay for an expensive course, you can go to school and learn it, but like really you got to flex the muscle and just write and do it. The best way to become a better writer is by writing. And so it was just something I wanted to be true of myself that wasn't. And so decided, if I want it to change, I got to do something different.
I'm gonna take a step back here, but working at the U version, did I say that right?
Yeah,
Um, Obviously with an app that's been downloaded probably more than any other app, like I mean, other than some of the big ones.
sure.
What did you learn from marketing that and like growing something to that scale?
Yeah, a couple things. One is like I sound like a broken record, but I cannot say enough good things about YouVersion and Live Church. Just the culture of innovation at these organizations at Live Church. Like when you think about a church with multiple campuses,
Right.
Live Church was like the first one to do that. When you think about streaming church service online, Live Church was the first one to do that. Like reading your Bible on your phone, Live Church was the first one to do that. And so they were just very willing to invest in technology to reach people. And so having an organization that believed in me and what I was trying to accomplish, like made all of that possible. So that was really exciting. Um, so learning from people, what they were doing, but also viewing social media not as a promotional tool for our product, but viewing social media as an extension of the product. So it is a tool to drive app downloads. Absolutely. We are trying to drive app downloads through social media, but we're also just trying to build a community and add value to people's lives while they're on social without trying to get them to do something else. And so viewing like it's not a promotional tool for the ministry, it's an extension of the ministry. And that was a really cool way of looking at it and allowed us to be really innovative in kind of how we approached content.
I really like that thought of it's an extension of the product, not like just to be promotional, because people can see that that's what you're doing, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're always asking, you know, for version's free, but if it's buy my product, buy my product, buy my product, people are gonna get really tired. But if it's add value, add value, add value, add value, hey, check out my product, that's just a
right.
whole different story.
What did you always, and maybe in like in college and stuff like that, was the goal always to get into marketing, or what? Was it just you had that creative background that, I mean, I'm sure that identity as a writer goes way back, but what got you into this field?
I don't know, man. I think it just kind of just it just happened. I'm obviously I worked at YouVersion. I'm a believer in God, and I think it just kind of how it all worked out. I think I never could have planned it, but
Mm-hmm.
it just worked out. My first gig out of college was video production for the university I went to, and loved that. Telling stories through a camera was really fun. And my roommate in college and we filmed wedding videos just as like a way to pay rent. We just did that on the side, and that was really fun. And but we decided my wife and I decided we didn't want to stay in Columbia, which we went to school for.
Okay.
Uh, that's not where we wanted to plant roots and raise a family. So I applied for jobs kind of all over and really had no business applying for that job at YouVersion, but they rolled the dice and took a chance on me. And worked out, and I was able to just learn from incredible people, learn what it means to be a marketer and what it means to reach people and build an audience and create community. And then now working at Tyson Foods on the food service side, doing similar things. There's a lot, it's obviously very different industry, very different goals, and
Hmm.
but again, it's all about at the end of the day, the common thread is building a community of engaged followers. Is kind of what we're all about.
Are you comfortable putting yourself into those situations of growth? Like, so you said you just kind of reached out to you version. You kind of just, I'm going to commit to writing even if nobody listens to me. Does that excite you? What gives you the confidence to kind of try these things and see what happens?
Yeah, I would say I'm not confident at all, man. It's like I don't know. Growing up, my parents always told me like bravery is being scared but doing it anyway. Just like it's not. I don't know. I had no business applying for that job at YouVersion, but I just like, well, like, what's the worst case scenario, And same
Yeah.
thing with LinkedIn. But I think there's like I've never been very good at sports. I love watching sports. I love playing sports. I'm not good at it. But how I've got to imagine like Tom Brady feels when he's down in the fourth quarter and he needs to score on this drive of like, let's see if I can make it happen.
Hmm.
Like that pressure, I like it of like when I step into a new job or a new freelance opportunity where it's like I've never worked in this industry. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't even know if I can pull this off, but like
Right.
let's go. Let's see what we can do. And there's like it's scary. There's like that adrenaline rush, but yeah, I think it's just something that's um I don't know, doing hard things is fun.
Wait, and that's like the only way to kind of grow. I've always felt like, and I don't know if that's like the entrepreneurial spirit, if we're just weird, like that. It's like I like that challenge of I don't know how to do this, but just telling somebody I can and then figuring it out is like exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And like there's that I've read David Goggins' book Can't Hurt Me, and then his new
Hmm.
book Never Finished, of just like there's that mentality of just like seeking out things that are difficult, is that's how you make yourself better in all facets of life. So yeah, a lot of areas that I need to learn and grow in, but I think you're right. That's the way that you get better at what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, but it sounds like you've been. I mean, you're seeking out the books. You're around. Is it Craig Groeschel, the pastor there?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, he's written book, and now businesses reach out to him for kind of guidance on growing something like that. So I mean, to be able to work in all those different spaces, and then now, I think that it's interesting whenever you start talking to like you're talking to other social media managers and they're in different industries and they're seeking advice from you, but then you get to learn a little bit from each of them, even though you're the one helping them. So what has that process been like now that people are kind of reaching out to you for guidance on how to grow an audience?
Yeah, it's weird because I still don't think of myself as like a subject matter expert.
Mm,
I'm just a dude trying to figure it out. I'm just like trying stuff and learning and growing, and I've learned so much from other people, and that's the cool part about like hopping on calls with people or just replying on LinkedIn messages of like it's definitely it's all it. I never view it as like I'm gonna help this person. It's like I'm gonna connect with this person and
right.
we're gonna chat and like I learn from them, whether it's about their industry or about what's working for you, what's not working for you. And yeah, I'll share what's worked for me, what's not worked for me. And like I said, like I've just had so many people pour into my life that have helped me personally and professionally that I'm always happy to respond to a LinkedIn message. And if I can give somebody some advice like along the way, that's icing on the cake for sure.
How does the different, I know we've talked a lot about LinkedIn, but how does it compare to like the other social media platforms? So you talked about being able to grow an Instagram and a TikTok following. How has the maybe the experiences doing that helped you in LinkedIn, but then how's it also like different and like why has that been a big focus of yours?
Yeah, I think the ceiling on other platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, like the amount of people you can reach is just like insane. You can have a TikTok go viral. I had a TikTok go viral about a year ago where I posted a video I thought was funny and it got 3.6 million views and I had
Hmm.
like 100 followers, right? So like
Right.
that's insane that you can reach that many people. LinkedIn is like the ceiling is much lower. I think my highest LinkedIn post ever was like 1.9 million views. So it's the potential is less. But what I find incredible about LinkedIn is like still being branded as like the professional business social media, people like you can't be crazy. You can't just like, sell to people all the time, but
Hmm.
people are receptive to hearing offers and to they're wanting to learn about ways to work with other people. And so the the organic reach is incredible, but the ability to find clients is really what's been awesome about LinkedIn is like there's that overlap of you can reach a lot of people and you find a lot of people that maybe want to hire you. And so I think maybe on Instagram people aren't really looking for a freelance social media consultant, whereas on LinkedIn they're much more open to that. So I mean I love social. If you can't tell, I'm passionate about social media, but LinkedIn's just kind of been the place where I planted my flag, like personally, if this is where I want to grow, this is where I want to develop and spend my time. But yeah, obviously, huge fans of the other platforms and the ability to go viral and build an audience extremely quickly as well.
Are you currently like using like kind of like repurposing this writing on places like Twitter and other like, and is it, or do you have to kind of tailor the messages on those other platforms, I guess?
Yeah, I think of it less as like platforms and more styles, right? So like
Okay.
I'm kind of following in the footsteps of guys like Justin Welsh, trying to think of some other guys that like are really people that grow an audience on Twitter or LinkedIn are doing
Right.
it by like writing. That's their style,
Mm-hmm.
like punchy written word. And then there are other people that go viral on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok with short form video. And like, so to me, if you're doing one style that translates well to another platform, it just makes all the sense in the world to repurpose that content. So I just recently started posting my LinkedIn content, tweaking it a little bit to put on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That's still I'm extremely early in that journey of just trying to like figure out Twitter. But yeah, definitely not trying to step into like short form video or something that's completely different. But yeah, I think you're right. It makes sense to use that, you know, in as many places as you can.
I want to kind of switch to thinking like forward now. You committed to writing every day, a year ago. Do you still view yourself as kind of in this learning phase of like I'm just going to keep kind of figuring out my audience and what I'm doing, or do you have specific targets of like I want to grow to this number or to this many clients, or like what's your process right now and your thoughts around what are you trying to do with your audience?
Yeah, no, I definitely still view myself as like a student of I'm trying to learn and grow as much as I can. I feel like I know my audience a lot better. I know who's following me and generally how I can serve them better. And I think that's
Yeah.
my main concern over the next you know, 1, 3, 5 years is just continuing to learn who cares about what I'm posting on LinkedIn and how can I make their life better? Can I create you know, right now it's been free content via LinkedIn. I think down the road, maybe that'll transition into can I have, you know, is it digital products? Is it more you know, coaching calls, consulting calls? I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think it's going to be continue to be centered around how can I add legitimate value to my audience? How can I help and equip them in whatever and make them successful in whatever they're trying to accomplish?
And I've done the same thing that you did. Like anytime someone reaches out on LinkedIn or, I've been reaching out like I did to you, it's like just trying to build those connections with people has been like really eye opening to me is like I can learn so much just from like conversations like this, which is why I wanted to start recording them. But even just other calls where it's like, hey, we're just going to do a virtual coffee or something like that. How has, kind of networking and actually just being open to any meetings kind of changed your perspective on business or your career?
You asked me earlier about like what makes LinkedIn different, and I didn't mention that, but I should have. That I've never had a phone call with somebody I met off Instagram. Not to say
Yeah.
that people don't. I think people probably I actually have a buddy that met his wife on Instagram, and so like I know people do that. But like the first time somebody on LinkedIn said, "Hey, do you want to hop on a call?" I was like, "What?" Like I thought that was like the strangest thing. You want to hop on a call? But then, like, it's been on LinkedIn for a while now. It's like I've had so many calls with people just like talking, getting to know you. I've made legitimate friends on LinkedIn. It just there's very much the mentality of a rising tide, you know, lifts all ships, and people are so willing to support and chat and you know share ideas and yeah, the community is really. I think about when I first started, guys like Kevin Graham, Sam Wells, that were like really encouraged me to keep writing, even though it was no good, you know, but engaged with my content and tried to help me. And, you know, view so it's just like the way people inspire and encourage other people on LinkedIn and the real person to person relationships that form make that platform really special.
I agree because it seems like you can get lost in the everything that goes on Instagram or TikTok. I mean, there's so many other things that people can pay attention to entertain them. Whereas LinkedIn, it's like it seems like the content it does well is actually like informative and
Sure. Yeah.
helpful. It's cool. It is a cool place. That's why, I think got connected with you or started following you probably around that time of your big post in October. But then I think you only still had only a couple thousand followers at that time. So to see it even just in the past 6 months
Right.
go from 2 to 15, it's like that's your story is kind of cool just to keep seeing you every day, and I like that aspect or the perspective of, hey, I'm just follow along with my journey. Here's what I'm learning. Here's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, and you see other people like that, and I've done it myself, and it's like it's cool to get the support from others, and especially from people that you don't really know that well, but they see you out there trying. So it's like a great community to test the waters of social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over, but
Yeah,
like man, the community is just incredible. Like those guys that were cheering me on day one, like hop on a phone call with them now and we'll talk about like professional but personal life and just like
yeah.
yeah, it's just created real connections, which is it's in this day and age it's hard to do.
How would you recommend that someone, and we'll stick to the idea of like a personal brand, like why should someone start doing that? And then what are the kind of the methods and tools that you've used over the past year to start to build yours?
Yeah, people follow people, not brands. People I think it's hardwired into us. Like I said, I'm a believer and I think it's hardwired by our creator to crave connection with other people. And so I think that's like the reason you err on the side of personal rather than like, business page or that kind of thing. But I think the first thing is determining their two prongs, I guess. One is who are you? What do you want to talk about? What are you passionate about? What could you start screen recording and what could you talk about for 30 minutes uninterrupted? What's that like? What fires you up? And then learning about your audience. Who are you trying to reach? What do they care about? What are their inner fears, desires? What are they wanting? And how do those overlap? So, like, how does what you're passionate about, how can that fill some of those needs? And how can that encourage, equip, and inspire somebody else? And not just, there's no shortcut to just doing that. You might figure it out in 48 hours. Like, here's the perfect mix. It took me 10 months to really kind of hone in on what that is. But it's you gotta fall in love with the process, not the end result. Like, fall in love with creating content, fall in love with making connections with people, and it's easy to say now, as I've kinda, um, built a little community, but it's really falling in love with the process, not the end result. And then, there are tools you can use, like, Spark Toro is a great tool, audience intelligence of learning about who your audience is, and, there are all sorts of, like, tips and tricks, but at the end of the day, it's creating content you think is gonna help somebody else, and then doing that every day for months on end as you learn more and, flex that muscle of becoming a better content creator.
And I think the challenging part for most people, even myself, is like doing it regardless of what happens. Like if you've
Yeah,
posted, maybe reposted that, like that kind of image where it shows like the audience flat forever, and it's like you
yeah,
get to that point where you want to give up, and then that just after that's when
yeah.
something can take
Yeah,
off.
you never know when it's about to happen, There's a yeah, it's you never know how close you are to what you want, and so it's a waiting game, and you never know when it's gonna hit, but yeah, when it does, obviously it's better than you expected it to be.
I think people, I'm like, well, I'll just post this one thing, and then I will immediately get. It's so good that I'm going to get millions of followers because of just this one, my first post, and it's like, I don't know. No one's listening to you, and there's enough out there that people can see, but
Right.
it is that everyday consistency that people start to connect with, and they start to learn more about you and understand the real you. Um, and
And
I
you
get,
can't fast track that real relationships
yeah,
piece, you can't just, like it's like, when I think about, like, some of the guys that I'm really and girls too, but the people that I'm really, like, connected with on LinkedIn that I feel like they support me and I support them, like, they've helped my audience grow immensely, but you can't skip to the front of the line with that. It's gotta happen naturally and organically, and the only way that ever happens is if you're showing up every day.
no, I agree completely. So what's next for you then? So you've started to build this audience, and I think that you've started to offer some services to other people. So what are your like next goals and steps and your growth?
Yeah, so there was phase there where I was doing a lot of social media consulting, and I still am doing some of that. If there's a brand that I'm really passionate about, or just like still, that's a very important part of what I do, and I really enjoy that. Less of that now, a little more selective on wanting to make sure it's the perfect fit for both me and for the organization I work with. Still working, at Tyson. Love what I do here. Love the culture here. Love the team that I'm on. So really enjoying that. But yeah, you kind of alluded to it as I'm building this audience of social media managers. I'm working on building like a workbook, a course, like that's kind of the A to Z of what it takes to build a social media consulting thing on the side and how to do that. Um, Not as much how to grow an audience on social, kind of targeting people that already know how to build an audience, but just want to know how do I market those services and then grow, my side hustle into a lucrative business. So that's what I've been working on lately. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'd love to have it launched by the end of this month. But so it's been a lot of fun, a lot of learning. I've never made an online course before,
Right.
so it's just figuring it out, and I'm sure it'll get better as time goes on. And but yeah, that's been a really fun process.
Where can we get that course whenever it launches?
Yeah, howtosocialmedia.com. I picked up
Okay.
that domain a few years ago for like 100
Nice.
bucks. Loved it. So howtosocialmedia.com. And there's the email form, and I'll connect with you as soon as you send me an email.
And is the best place for people to find you on LinkedIn, or is it, how does somebody get in touch with you to just either connect or learn more about what you got going on?
Yeah, shoot me a message on LinkedIn, and then my email with that is chat@howtosocialmedia.com. And I read every email. I'm always happy to answer questions, or if there's any yeah, doors always open for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, I thank you for taking some time today to dive into your story and what you have going on. I think there's a lot of good information that you provided about growing an audience and what it takes to do it. And I'm just thankful that, got to chat with you, got to connect, still follow you and we'll be rooting you on as you launch this course and keep growing.
Thanks so much, man. I'm always, yeah, very flattered and very kind of you to say that. So, yeah, I'm just thrilled to be here. Thank you so much.